some good conversation during our panel session a little bit later. Our final speaker for this session, I would like to introduce Professor Ray Wills, who is a researcher, academic, planner, consultant, advisor, manager, executive, business owner, author, commentator, entrepreneur and futurist, with a focus on sustainability and technology. He is recognised by a number of international groups as one of the top 100 global leaders in sustainability, climate change and energy. Recent activities include contributions to national significant industry reports on batteries, battery resources and electrification, development of the largest hybrid solar battery storage project in Western Australia, and now contributing to new globally significant green energy giga-projects to be based in Western Australia. Welcome, Ray.
Right, I've got a slide set. Now the only thing I don't know about is changing slides. Thank you. Now that'll work. I know how to use one of those. Kia kora, wanju, nija, nungabuja. If we're going to change everything, we have to change ourselves, and we have to change the language we speak. And that language we speak may be about communication, but it's also about the language you speak about energy. If anybody wants to follow me, you'll find me on, I'll use Brent's phrase, Twitter. Let's get into it. What's happening globally with technology? What does that mean? How quickly disruptive technologies arrive? And actually today is really just about the last sentence. I've only got enough time to talk about cars, and I want to talk about everything, but I don't have time. But what I'm talking about is the future, and of course prediction is difficult, especially if it's about the future. So famous old phrase, everybody can laugh. There will be jokes. They might not be funny, but you can laugh with them. Yeah, that'd be great. We're not at that concert up there. That's in the 1960s in Cleveland. We're more in this concert here. And it's much more a reflection of the digital economy. Everybody wave your hands. This is participative. Come on, I want to see fingers. There's a few people without hands. I know everybody's got hands. That's fantastic. Okay, the digital economy is what's going to decide how things happen. And the people underneath, mostly millennials and Gen Zs, they're making sure that that craft goes somewhere. And the people in the craft got no idea where they're going, because that's what the fingers are doing. That's what a digital economy will do. It will determine our direction. And if we can get the digital economy behind a sustainable economy, we're going to win. Things change. That's what Australia used to be. Even older than that, of course, but once we put sheep on it, there was just sheep or no sheep or some sheep or lots of sheep. Okay, but the world changes. Many of you may have seen this particular graph before, Rogers S-curve. The blue line shows you how you're progressing through your economy, innovators, early adopters, early majority. Now, if you add the innovators and the early adopters together, you get 5 is 14, 16%, and then you get into the big stuff. Once you're over 16%, it's huge. We're done. There's nothing to do to stop it. And if you add all that blue line up, you get to the yellow line. If we're doing a survey on bums on seats here, well, we're actually at about 60% capacity. So we've got more room in this market. We can fill this market up a little bit more. And when you fill all those seats up, you either have to bring new seats in or find a new way to seat people or have them stand. Be innovative, I don't know. But you've always got an exit whenever there's new technology. We can look at any technology that's hard or soft. An idea is a technology. The application of an idea is a technology. A language is a technology. And this is the adoption of the English language following Rogers S-curve. Over a couple of hundred years, not just over 10 weeks, but it shows you that this is the way that these things, if something succeeds, it grows exponentially, it grows quickly. How can we be sure? We can look at all sorts of technology. This is what's happened. I can pick any technology really, but let's go with solar and wind. Wind was fast, came in pretty quickly, seems to be going pretty well. Solar came in even faster, going up, straight up, growing exponentially. That's fantastic. But actually, the game's only just started. Even if we just go, I'm going to talk reverse. I should have had this slide next. When you increase volume of something, as we did with, I think I can go back with that one. No, I'm not going to try. As you decrease price, you increase volume. Conversely, if you increase volume, you decrease price. The more stuff you build, the cheaper it gets. The cheaper it gets, the more stuff you can afford to build. The cheaper it gets, the more you build. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? Anybody want to argue? There's no cookers in the audience? No? Okay, let's move on. We had phrase cookers earlier. If we do this, then we change the way we think about stuff. If we change how frequent a technology is, we do this. The purple line, TV sets. We build lots of TV sets, a couple hundred million a year, but TV sets are big and black, and what's big and black and flat and looks like a TV set? A solar panel. We now build more solar panels than TV sets. We now produce something that makes energy more than we produce something that consumes energy. This is a cultural shift. This is a mind shift. We don't have to buy electricity from down the road anymore. We can actually put it on our roofs and make our own electricity. What a cultural shift that can be. And then if we start looking into the future, and I haven't gone very far in the future on this one, it's just an example. Even though wind and solar were fast, they're getting faster. They're not slowing down. When you actually start to create change, you gain momentum. It goes faster, not slower. People that say, oh, there's a bit of a slowdown in the electric car industry at the moment, let's have a look if they're true. Oh, and back there was also a curve for batteries. Here's my plot for batteries. Batteries used to be in all sorts of things like clickers and phones and stuff. But as of about 2021, we now use more batteries in cars and in stationary storage than we used to. In fact, forevermore that'll be true. Into 2023, overwhelmingly the biggest group of battery usages is in motor cars and slightly behind that in stationary storage. All the other devices exist. Used to be that a Game Boy was the most common use of a battery back in the 2005, so that's not that long ago. But here we go. Actually, about 6 years ago, I wrote a report and I put that plot in it. And that plot was a projection forward about what I thought would happen with batteries. And you'll see if you go across the top here, we're at 2,000 at the top in 2023 on the graph in the background. And if we go across the top on my graph that's now 6 years old, and we go back to that point, it's truth.
Yes, but even
I was right, sorry.
sleepy babies don't always
The
stay
sorts of
like
changes we're creating are happening and they're measurable, and it's really exciting for electric cars as well. This is my latest plot on electric cars by annual growth up until 2025. 2022 is real data. 2023 is an estimate based on current data. The graph was drawn in June, so therefore it was half the years of data. And then the next two are my projections as to where I get. Does that look reasonable? We've been growing a lot, and we're growing a bit more. I keep on growing. So by 2025, we should be about 45% of all car sales globally will be electric. 45% globally, electric. Wow. What are we thinking? If we put that into a plot, it looks like that. Well, it should look like that. It's successful. It's growing. It's going faster. It slowed down a bit in 2019. There was a real hole in our pudding at that day, but it's going faster. Now I should have talked about the data that was there. Now, I will try and go back this time. Yeah, it worked, yeah. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Global growth of electric vehicles since 2011 has been 60% per annum. And if you take out glitches like the one down in 2019 and you just average it all, it's still 60%. And if I go forward and I say, there's my 2025 projection, I'm saying, well, it's going to keep growing at 60%, won't it? Am I being silly here? Seems to, trend line keeps going. That seems to be logical. If we assume that growth, we get to 45% electric vehicles by 2025. What if we continue that growth past 2025? That won't happen. We won't grow past 2025, will we? Roger's S-curve says we will. If we go back again, I've worked out how to go backwards. Currently, 17% of sales on the globe this year are electric. 2.5 plus 13.5, 16%. 17%, we're actually into the early majority for electric cars. We're no longer in this exploratory period. This is real. This is tangible. It's in our hands. It's happening. And if I keep that 60% going, then by 2027, we don't make combustion engine cars anymore. Oh, Ray's a loony. The other graph I could believe, but Ray's a loony. Well, the only reason I'll be wrong is if we make fewer electric cars next year than we did this year, and so forth and so on. Can't see that happening, so I'm right. Okay, let's move on. Oh, this is thirsty work. I've got to keep moving. So, if we actually add all that up, 1.4 billion cars on the planet. This plot is also from June. There's a couple of things on there. It's quite a messy graph when you think about it. But the ICE cars, after we're finished with them, we won't use them anymore. The technology exits. And all the new ones, the green ones, we keep them and make more of them. But actually, I'm suggesting that we're going to make a lot less of them. We're going to make a lot less because autonomy is starting to come to the marketplace, and when autonomy arrives, we don't need as many cars. Instead of 2 cars in your driveway, you'll only have 1. And if you both want to go somewhere, then you probably will. That might be a bit more challenging, one if you can act on the bus or on the scooter, but actually no, the car might come back for you. There's a lovely clock counting there. I'm still on time. Excellent. The other part of that graph is oil, up the top there. If what I'm saying is right, if the growth of electric vehicles continues, and if, therefore, we see an attrition and exit of the old technology, which is what you should expect, then we're starting to see the exit of the old technology now. The peak in combustion engine car sales was in 2017. Since 2017, we have not sold as many combustion engine cars as we did in that year. It continues to fall. And it continues to be true because now the growth is currently all to do with electric cars. The only reason there's been a regrowth of combustion engines, of car sales in the world, is because we're selling electric cars. Which means you look at the top of that graph, which is the oil chart. Let's go closer. And what it means is there's 2020. In my view, oil peaked in 2020. There's no logical reason why it didn't. The International Energy Agency is not quite sure. BP said in 2021, oh, actually, we think oil peaked in 2020. And then all of their mates beat them up and said, don't say that. And so they said, oh, we're not quite sure if it did. And the IEA have said, oh, no, it definitely hasn't, not yet. It's a while in the future. The 2022 numbers from the IEA are estimates. The 2023 numbers from the IEA are estimates. If you look at their data sets, they have an asterisk. The asterisk leads to an asterisk at the bottom, and it said, these are estimates. They're not actual data. So when you actually fuel an idea, a paradigm, with the thought that you expect it to continue in a certain way, and you've always said oil will grow, so therefore what you expect when you do an estimate is, oh no, oil will grow. It won't slow. My view is it's slowing. I guess I've got another year to wait before I find out if I'm right or not. The art of a futurist is to be the least wrong. Wonderful stuff. This is what's happening globally. Electric buses, 49% of the EV bus fleet in the world are electric, and that's because 2/3, 3/4, 4/5, 9/10 of them are in China. The rest of the world doesn't think electric buses work yet because they're not sure if they've got wheels or not, and doors and windscreen wipers. So you've got to trial them just to make sure that the bus goes down the street. It's crazy. EV cars, well, we're at 13% last year. We're going to be at 17% this year, and currently we're about 1.8% of fleet as we add to that volume. But motorcycles are changing. The only things really that aren't yet are the commercial vehicles. We need big trucks, and not the ones that America's selling with, the Ford Lightning or whatever. We need big trucks. And if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, the simplest thing I do is look at China. Last year's graph on China, in June of last year, they changed their minds. They doubled their target for 2022, and then they did it. Just because you think something's hard doesn't mean it has to be hard. And just because you don't want to do something, well, I'm getting mixed up here. You ought to do something because it's right. You should do something because you can. And then we will get it right, like the Chinese are starting to do. In Australia, we're at 8% of car share for electric vehicle sales. This is a plot. Last year, it was only 0.5%. It's gone up 1,600% in a year. We don't make cars. We buy them from overseas. They come to us. Oh, there's the stunning Peter Newman and myself going for a drive in a car. It's actually a Polestar. If I know if Jonathan's here watching this. We did 1,000 kilometres in 2 days and 2 meetings. We shouldn't have been able to. It was an electric car. We shouldn't have got past, York.
You should do it on the weekend.
We avoided that risk. And we charged all the way. You can see the trip map on the right there. We went out to Corrigan, did a full-day workshop. We stayed overnight, charged overnight, went the next day to Collie, and then onto Margaret River. Peter says at about 7 p.m, just after we finished dinner, why don't we drive home? I went, I want to have a sleep. He said, no, let's drive. So we did, and we did 1,000 kilometres in 2 days. If you were to fuel an electric car with one with a hectare of solar, you'll go roughly 100 times further than if you were to grow the equivalent in biofuels on that same hectare. Or in other words, to do the same job, you need 100 hectares to grow all the fuel for the car. Shine, baby, shine. Biofuels is not a thing. Hydrogen's not a thing. I've got hydrogen plotted on this graph. Can anybody see it? It's in the red. Okay, and this is to 2023. And for those on that side, you can see, and those on that side, there is a little red bar there. Okay, hydrogen's not a thing. And electricity and batteries are going to be important right across industry. Oh, I think I'm going to be on time. Excellent. I should stop waffling. We've got things like grain weevils and monitoring equipment and drones that are going to use electricity. So that's on the farm and that's with working, and then we're going to put land equipment on it. And all this big stuff is on batteries. It can be. We just need to build it. I haven't added Gina's pink train to it yet, but I need to add that. And then, as we build more batteries, and as those batteries get cheaper and denser, because density is increasing at 6% per annum, we'll be able to do water transport and big water transport. That's a 700 unit container unit for the Yangtze River. And we'll be able to do aircraft. The one on the left is a 30 passenger plane that's going to be delivered in 2026. The one on the right is a drone that's being built, a pilotless drone, takes a paramedic to an accident site, lands on the road, rescues the patient and comes home again. That's being built in Australia right now. It's real, it's being trialled. And it's electric. Bear saves fish from drowning. Watch this, this is awesome. This is a nice one. Bear saves fish from drowning. No, I think saving the fish is not taking action, not doing the right thing. It's called having lunch. Okay, if we're going to do this, it has to be sustainable. We have to get it right, and we have to do the right thing all the time. So let's move on with that. That's me done, I think, and I'm just marginally on time.